Generally, when the corporates hire, they should not compute that he is getting pension and hence I can pay him less and then take him. That would be very, very unfair on the soldier, because it's a meager pension which is needed for his almost pocket money.
Someone who is made up their mind that they're going to transition from a military career to a civilian career would not do it overnight. They would know a year earlier, maybe 2 years earlier. We expect those people to kind of make up their mind, firm their opinion on which area is their own area of strength. And based on that, they can pick up these programs from what Cisco can offer.
And welcome to Veer Naris and Veterans Outreach Program, a Metamorphs initiative. And I am Shakuntala Ajit Bhandarkar. Metamorphs is a non-profit voluntary group by veterans committed to nation building, restoring social values in society, nurturing lost glory of veterans, and thus contributing positively in whichever way they can. Do visit www.metamorphs.org for more about it. Today we have two esteemed panelists, Lieutenant General P.G. Kamath, PVSM, AVSM, YSM, and SM retired, and Colonel KPM Das from Cisco. Welcome to this program, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lieutenant General P.G. Kamath is an alumnus of Sainik School, Bijapur. He has served in the Indian Army in the Madras Regiment for 40 years. Being from the infantry, he has served on all frontiers of our country. He has a MS in Defense Studies from Madras University, MPhil in Management from DAVV Indore. He is one of the highest decorated senior veterans of the Indian Army, and currently he writes and gives talks on the international issues, leadership, ethics and morals. He is popularly on the LinkedIn, wherein his writings can be accessed. I am fortunate and privileged to have been mentored by General Kamath while I was writing the biography of my dear husband, the saga of a brave heart, Lieutenant Colonel Ajit V. Bhandarkar, Shaurya Chakra. He was kind enough to write the synopsis of this book. Thank you once again, Lieutenant General Kamath, for taking your time out and participating in this wonderful panel discussion with Colonel KPM Das from the Cisco.
Thank you, Shakuntala.
KPM Das is the National Cyber Security and Trust Officer for Cisco, driving the Energy Cyber Security Initiative in India and Asia Pacific. He joined Cisco 10 years ago, and after 6 years of business leadership in the IT service industry. First with Persistent System and later with Mindtree, during which time he had built a team of sales and operation and software services leadership. Before he joined Cisco, he was the head of global operation for Mindtree. KPM, as he is fondly called, is the graduate from the Defense Service Staff College at Wellington and a postgraduate in computer science from Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. As a university topper, he is a young, outstanding scholar awardee from Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in the year 1987. Prior to this tenure in IT industry, Colonel KPM Das was with the Indian Army for 25 years. He graduated from the National Defense Academy into the Corps of Signals, an author and contributor in areas of information and non-lethal warfare to journals like USI and Telematics, e-government, and Mint newspaper. KPM is also a keen follower of war game theory and development and a developer of First Battle BC, a battalion of corps war game. Welcome to this session, Colonel KPM Das.
Thank you, Mr. Bhandarkar. Thank you.
So as we all know that in the army, both of you have served in the army, and you have a lot of experience in the army as well. So, and you know how a soldier is trained and how he lives in a very, very protected environment where, he has to take the orders from his seniors and he has to just follow it. And that is how his life went on, a very, very regimental life. Now, I would request General Kamath to just give us an insight. Our viewers, I'm sure, would be keen to know about the life of a Jawan and an officer in the armed forces and how protected and secure he is while in his service life within the cantonments. I request General Kamath to give our viewers a view on or how it is for an army officer or a Jawan in the Indian Army.
Thank you, Shakuntala. Thank you, Metamorphs. And thank you, Colonel Das, for being a co-panelist. First and foremost, before I go into the deeper, into the aspect which Shakuntala has mentioned, I just want to say a brief introduction. Let's say that a Jawan enters the army at the 18 years of age. He serves for 17 years and then disappears. 35, 36 years, we throw him on the streets. That is the time in the corporate world, it is a takeoff stage for their career. They are looking forward for a career after 17 years. And here at the age of 35 and 36, 80% of our troops go out. Second, the better ones who are probably NCOs, JCOs who have become, go by 46. So the age group in which they are available to the corporate world is from 35 to 46. From the officers, it's from 54 to 58. So you have to see that with the actual lot of family responsibility of his kids, of his family, of his parents, aged parents, his unmarried daughter, his unemployed brother, and his 2 children, and his wife, he has to pull along with a very meager pension. The pension has to be meager because he serves only for 17 years. That means only very little increments he gets. Whereas wherever, even in the CAPF, like CRPF and all, a Jawan serves for 58 to 60 years. So we are taken from the youth, the prime of his youth, that is from his age of 18 to 35, and then exploiting him and then throwing him into the streets. So employing him is not individual responsibility. It is a national responsibility. And also every nationalist and every corporates should take it upon themselves in order to rehabilitate him. Secondly, I am not only for appealing for your emotions, but what we bring on the table when we come out. First of all, he brings in a very rich culture, that is the mission accomplishment. For him, when all instruments of the national power have been used, and the last one is the armed forces, and when it used, there is no other option but to win. So if he fails, the nation fails. So he has got a lot of rich work culture, that is the mission accomplishment, the sanctity of the mission, because if he knows that if we fail, the nation fails. Then there is second thing which he has a responsibility and accountability as a commander. He is commander at every level, at the lowest to the highest level. And for a commander, everything what happens in his command and everything that doesn't happen in his command, he is responsible. So you don't have to say, this is your responsibility. He knows that he is responsible and he knows he is accountable. Third thing, what we say in the armed forces is dependability. A task is given to you because you are dependable, because there is no other option but for you to complete the mission. So the dependability is one aspect in service, which we pay a lot of importance. Next is the teamwork. It is a team. What did Alexander the Great say? Upon the effort of each lies the fate of all. That is the guiding principle, that everyone has to put in his effort, because the team success depends upon the effort of each. So that is one. And it's generally, I have seen, there is a diversity of experience he brings. Now, let us say you are a software company. All of you are software engineers. Let us say any other company, you are only more riveted to one particular aspect. But when a soldier comes, he has got a diverse of experience. And in any organization to flourish, it can't be only a core competency. There has to be a diversity of experiences to solve multifarious problems which an organization faces. And then we generally think, oh, he's a veteran. Only thing he can do is security and nothing else. Okay, look at the gate and look at the roof and look at this one. That's all they think. Whereas you have to understand in the armed forces, there is the infantry, the armor, the artillery, the signals, as Colonel KPM Das. He's an expert after serving quarter century in the army. He is now a cyber specialist. He's a developer. Because these are all intrinsic traits which he has inculcated and which he has imbibed during his quarter century in the armed forces. Then there are the engineers who look after your civil works. If there is any infrastructure in your company, whether the contractor is mixing the correct cement and sand ratio, whether he's getting the required grills of that much of what you call strength and tenacity, all these things can be looked after by engineers. Your health and hygiene factor in the community, preventive medicine. We have got our medical specialists, medical representatives who work on this. So you have got a varied, you have got a EME who will look after the instrumentation, vehicle repairs. You have got AAC and AOC who will look after your global logistic management, your inventory management, your logistic supplies, your fleet management, your canteen management, your messes and all. If you have the health and hygiene in the messes, who will take care of it? There are various, so you should not club when you look at a veteran. Yes, veteran means security and there is nothing beyond it. That is generally seen, unfortunately. We are much beyond. Of course, security also we will take care of. Then we have got AAC, then AAC who are educating people. They can be in your training team. Then we have got VIP management, which we can do. A person, VIP is a big eyesore for everyone, whether we like it or not, he has to be looked after. So you just unleash an NCO on him or a person who is in a veteran on him. You will take care of him from his reception till the takeoff. So that is the way you can handle. Then there is general administration, anything of supervision, general administration. Which can be done in a very exceedingly well manner. And also, please understand, the armed forces have got a variety of trades. If a soldier is a fighter, there is a chef, there is a waiter, there is a equipment and boot repairer, there is a blacksmith, there is a painter, there are draftsmen, there are instrument repairers, there is a variety of trades which are there. So they are actually a receptacle of so much reservoir of so many trades which can be utilized.
That was wonderful, Colonel KPM Das. Can you please tell us about how you feel when a veteran comes into the corporate life? What is the slight difference? You have seen both parts of the world, the army life and the corporate life. So what is it from an IT personnel per se that you would like to share with our viewers and take it forward?
Thank you, Mrs. Bhandarkar. First is, I really salute General Kamath, because in very little time, he actually has given the essence of what a person in uniform brings to the table, right? And let me share a few things. First, I left the army about 18 years back. And from then and now, on a very optimistic note, I must say things are a lot better in terms of understanding what a service person can bring to the table. There's a sea change. There are areas which are today emerging as preferred for veterans. You ask Amazon, you ask JP Morgan, you ask Wells Fargo Bank, you ask other banks, there are areas beyond security where they come in. Okay. So that is one discovery. The second thing that has come in is this whole notion of the Chetwode motto, right? Where your team comes before you. If you look at the world around, no mission is accomplished without a team. There are no heroes. You need to work with a team, and there is no better culture that can be brought in than a culture that comes from Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, etc. Right? So this discovery is now kind of getting assimilated in civil leadership, and especially the very senior people, CEOs, CXOs, they understand it a lot better than the middle managers. So the next big bastion we have to break is the middle manager, because the hiring manager is not the CEO. Hiring is the middle manager. And that personally for me is also a challenge within Cisco, right? I must share with you, when I left the army, I was a little reticent. As a Fauji, what do I bring to the table? But it took just 4 to 6 months to understand the nuances of the job, irrespective of what the job is. So when a veteran, when a service person leaves, even a soldier who leaves after 17, 18 years, they bring to the table 3 kinds of things. First, things that they are very good at, which is their trade. A rifleman, a sapper, a signalman. They're very good at it. They're very deep. They're specialists, and they're unchallenged in that space. The second area is what is called transferable skills. These are skills which is mutually, they intersect between civil and military. These are useful in the military. They are as useful in civil stream. They're called transferable skills. There are a whole lot of them. And I have a separate session that I do with my managers to tell them why you should hire veterans. And there are a list of those skills. They include teamwork, they include adherence to processes. An organization which runs on SOP is unique. And today you have large companies, IBM, Infosys, Wipro. Their biggest challenge is, how do I scale up? How do I scale up from a $15 billion company to a $30 billion company with 4 lakh people to 8 lakh people? The answer lies in SOPs and processes. And that is something that comes naturally to a military person. Starting from the soldier right up to the general, we have something we carry in one of our pockets, and that is the process, the procedure. And the third, of course, is something that is missing, is about the job that they're going to do in City Street. I would say it would range between 20 to 30%. That is something which has to be learned. We never did it in the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. But to my belief and what I've seen, I've discovered, I'm convinced that this 20 to 30% is learnable, right? So therefore, a message to people who are leaving the services is, stay sharp. All your 16 years, 17 years, 20 years, stay sharp. Be curious. Look around. Learn new things. If you're a driver, learn how to run a generator. If you're a generator mechanic, learn how to run the radio, and so on. If that fundamental trait is there, that 20 to 30% which is missing can be bridged. Because what worries a hiring manager in CV Street is that 20 to 30%, because they think, will this person be able to learn? The answer that has to be put across in an interview, in a resume, is that I can learn. And I think it's after that, you can make out in a team of 20, 30, at least I've figured out when they line up, I can make out who are the people who are for the brands. They stand out. They stand out because they carry these skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel KPM Das. That was very well elicited on what is it you want our veterans to learn. It is just the 20 and almost the 30%, 20 to 30% is what is they have to learn and get trained. Otherwise, everything is in them and they have to just upgrade themselves. So General Kamath, if you still feel that you have any point which you have not addressed, you are free. Let's not go by the time. You have such valuable points to share. So you can share it if you have anything left out, or same here with Colonel KPM Das also. If you have anything which you have missed out or you want to share, you can just share it by way of.
Okay, I just had a very illuminating listening to what Colonel KPM has said. Wonderful. Absolutely, he has told you how to bridge the gap between a person who becomes a veteran until the time he is employed. And what is the real thing, what the corporates are looking at a veteran, what else he can do? First is obviously the learnable skills. Second thing, what I want to really say is there is a need to see what he is suitable for. Because a soldier, when he comes, he has got intrinsic skills as the work culture and all what he has mentioned. Plus, he has got his core competencies of the trade what he has. So when he is employed, he can be employed by the corporates for a dual trade as well. For general administration and the bookkeeping, if he can do, why not? Just as you said, a driver and the generator, they are all compatible equipment he can look after. Third, if he's an engineer's person, he can look after the works and the infrastructure, plus also he can look after the other aspects of construction, minor construction, the pioneer construction, the construction which can be done by the company without hiring the contractors also can be done. If he's a medical fellow, he can look after the first aid also, because first aid is required in any company, plus the community health and the preventive medicine in order to keep the entire campus healthy and see that other chronic diseases do not spread. So there is a thing when a person comes out, there is a need to assess his record of service. Once you see his record of service, what are the areas which he has served with, and what are his technical competency, then it would be easier for the corporates to absorb him in that very capacity and then further enhance his skill and give him a suitable job which will pay. Generally, we have to see, the veterans also look for their pay. The pension which they get is very meager. That point has to be taken. Generally, when the corporates hire, they should not compute that he is getting pension and hence I can pay him less and then take him. That would be very, very unfair on the soldier, because it's a meager pension which is needed for his almost pocket money. So you have to pay him irrespective of what he gets in his pocket as a pension, and then evaluate him as per his value additions which he has undergone throughout his service. That's all. Thank you.
That was a very valid point, General Kamath, on how the record of service is a very good journal for the recruiter or the HR manager to check on, and also give him the right roles and responsibilities in a corporate world. Wonderful point raised by General Kamath. General Kamath, you have served in many prime locations, and also you were the colonel of the regiment of the Madras Regiment. So we at the Madras Regiment and also other regiments have their own ways of, bridging this gap of transition from a veteran life to a civil life. So I would request General Kamath to tell us on all the programs and sessions you have with the veterans before they retire in the centers and also otherwise.
Thank you, Shakuntala. Firstly, the army is very well aware that we are leaving our veteran soldiers absolutely in the midst of their middle age, rather start of the middle age, and leaving them into the world. We have exploited the best out of them. We also know it. And the army as a whole is very conscious of this particular aspect. And there is at the apex level, at the Ministry of Defense, there is a Director General of Resettlement. He is the one who is really looking after in order to ensure that every soldier, every officer is trained. Of course, he has to also volunteer for it. Firstly, let me take the officers. They have got a 2 years of study leave, of course. That is not just prior to the retirement. It's about 4 to 5 years before his retirement. He can take 2 years of study leave and expertise and specialize himself and get value addition to his persona by the subject which he studies. Most of them study in so that they can be easily assimilated in the corporate world. Thereafter, just prior to retirement, even up to a period of 6 months, people are allowed, officers and GCOs and war are allowed for resettlement courses. This is, we are very conscious, and there are a number of officers courses which we conduct, like business administration, business management. In all the IIMs, there are certain courses which are conducted for the officers who are retiring. Then there is also a course for independent directors. There is a course for global supply chain management. So these are the places officers, in addition to their study leave, they do these resettlement courses and they come out. If you look at the Javans, there is and GCOs, NCOs, there is plethora of courses planned by the Director General of Resettlement. There are actually around 40 to 50 disciplines in which they are trained before they are let out. I'll briefly mention some of them, as it would be useful for the corporates to really ask whether they have done these courses or not. Retail entrepreneurs, retail team leaders, multimedia developers, then financial and accounting system experts, instrumentation, bookkeeping, accounting, storekeepers, diploma in travel and tourism, industrial cooperation management, NIE, O-level courses are given to so many of our signal men and other infantrymen who are got what we call aptitude towards it. Diploma in marketing and sales management. Fire and industrial safety. This is one of very important things which they are trained. Dairy and farm supervisors, fitness trainees, yoga specialists, diploma in export and import, warehouse supervision. You can see the number of fields in which they have been trained. General duty managers, fitness trainers. These are the things, means in addition to his core competency of his particular service in which he has served, these are the courses where he can, what you call, increase his experience and his knowledge base before he is unleashed from the army into the civil. So with the study leave of the officers and with this plethora of courses, there are actually 161 courses every year the Director General of Resettlement runs all across the country. And all these courses are not in some private institutions. These are all in government institutions like the NIE, LET, then what you call IIMs. All these are Foreign Trade Institute, National Institute of Foreign Trade. All these courses are run at that level. So they would be very well, what you call, equipped to go and take compatible jobs in the civil. This is at the highest apex level. Then at the regimental level, also each, all of you, there are regiments and regiment centers are there. Regimental centers are those which are responsible to bring fresh recruits from the market and then train them. So in view of this, there is also resettlement courses which the centers conduct. They could be in technical trade, they could be in keyboard literacy, they could be in software, they could be in the other MS Office and other use of computers. And there are clerks who are being used as a clerical cadre is also being empowered in order to take on clerical duties. Accounting duties, these are the things which at the center level is also done. Prior to that, even some of the units do it at the unit level in order to see the same course might be repeated at different level. But by the time when he is retiring, you would have imbibed so much of expertise, better expertise, because after all, 4 weeks software plus 4 weeks software training in the center, it becomes 8 weeks. Then 6 weeks at NILAT, that means around 12, 14, 15 weeks. So it will be, he'll be very, very, what you call, reasonably expert in order to take on any duties which the corporates can really get him to do. keyboard literacy is one of the very important factors which the educated ones do. So you have to see this entire thing with its intrinsic capabilities and the work culture. Don't only look at, Acha, he has done only this business management. Any person who is of this nature can be trained in any of these facilities. And hence, Army is quite well aware and is involved and committed in order to see the veterans, prior to being veterans, are trained in order to take on corporate jobs. Thank you.
That was a wonderful explanation given by Lieutenant General Kamath on how the Army has also come with so many programs, and by the time he leaves, unlike what we all think, they have some extra training and they have some extra skills to develop upon. So I now request Colonel KPM Das from Cisco to tell us all the programs which they have for the veterans and what are the trainings they are doing to adapt and absorb these veterans.
Thank you, Mr. Bhadrakar. Now we are still in the if you on a scale of 1 to 10, we are still in the early stages. There are companies who are ahead of us, who've done many years of work with veterans to mentor them and get them into their organizations. We're still in very early stages. We are learning, and one of the things that we are just trying to set up is called Veterans Talent Incubation Program. So what we do is we have our learning tools, learning frameworks. What we intend to do is to extend it so that people, even while in service, can make use of those learning frameworks and learning tools so that they can come up to speed by the time they hang their uniform. So it is our belief is that someone who is made up their mind that they're going to transition from a military career to a civilian career would not do it overnight. They would know a year earlier, maybe 2 years earlier. And we expect those people to kind of make up their mind, firm their opinion on which area is their own area of strength. And based on that, they can pick up these programs from what Cisco can offer. As you know, Cisco is a technology company. And there is a lot of emphasis on certain certifications. It's called CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Administrator, etc. So those certifications, if you have it under your belt, by the time you leave, it is extremely useful to find a job. So what we're trying to do is to provide that ramp up before they leave so that they sign in for these courses. And these are courses where you don't have to have an instructor. It is all done virtually. It is done over the internet in their own time. Today you can do 1 hour, tomorrow you can do 2 hours. You can take a break for a day, do another 1 hour, and so on. So it's a very flexible model. People can sign up, go through these courses, equip themselves, get the certification. Once the certification is under your belt, then it is like a degree, a mini degree. And that allows you to go and seek jobs of the kind that in the area of networking. Cisco is in the area of networking, for example. And I'm sure similar examples exist in other companies as well. Where warehousing, for example, operations is turning out to be a very special skill. And these large companies like Amazon, etc., are welcoming people from service who have partly bridged that 30% gap that I spoke about through learning and certification. Right? So these are some initial steps. We have a long way to go in Cisco, but we are keen that we learn and quickly get there. Thank you.
So thank you, Colonel KPM Das. I'm sure our viewers and our friends who are watching this video would have now understood what are the steps taken by the corporates, especially Cisco, and also the Army programs which a veteran can sign up and upgrade himself. So now our next question to General Kamath will be like, yes, you have served in the Army You have a rich experience. You have also seen what the corporate world is doing. And I would request your suggestions on how the army and the corporate world could try to bridge in the gap and do other programs and sessions on how to build on this community and how to absorb these communities in the civil world. General Kamath.
Thank you, Shakuntala. Firstly, as I have told you before, that when I would look at it from the corporate side, how a soldier, how a veteran needs to be handled to exploit his full potential and his skills in a company. Because handling a veteran is very important. Because his work culture has been that there is no holiday in Spain, no increment, nothing can be promised to him. He loses his life and limb for only one thing, that is his honor. His honor is all that important to him. He does everything for his honor, because if he fails, the nation fails. He knows there is no one else can do that if he fails. So that honor is enshrined in his heart, in his intellect. So when he goes out, he cannot be treated shabbily. He has to be given his due respect, because all through his service, he has been doing work beyond the line of duty, only because he values his honor. So the handling of a veteran is very important, and even in the corporate, whichever middle-level leadership and all, should be slightly trained as to how to handle a veteran, give him respect and take respect in abundance. That is what we have to do. If you treat him as an ordinary person, actually we should respect as a humanity, we should respect everyone who is under our command. But notwithstanding, you cannot treat him shabbily. So there is a bit of orientation which the companies also have to do. If they are employing veterans which are under them or under their leadership or under their line management, there is a need for them to be trained and sensitized on this particular aspect. Second is every corporate, whenever any fresher or a veteran goes, I am sure there is a orientation course. Orienting their attitude, their minds, and their work culture to the company's culture is one of the most important things which they have to be done. As far as a soldier is concerned, it is better we give him a clear-cut instructions and orders in the beginning. Not that he doesn't have initiative. He might have been protected, but there are many places in service where he is absolutely not protected. He has to do it on his own. He has to take the decisions by seeing the fleeting opportunities in the battle, in the exercises, in operational situations. Where there is no one, the communication is off. A platoon commander, a GSO, will be in front in the line of control all alone. And when the enemy is attacking or enemy is making some moves, what action has to be taken is not a protected environment. It is absolutely explosive, where he has to exercise his initiative in order to accomplish his mission and preserve his troops and his area to which his area of responsibility. Not an inch has to be lost. He has to do that. Domination of the enemy. He has to do it on his own. There is no one to tell him. He's all on his own. And he is able and trained to do management in crisis. In the army, they say, with the firing of the first bullet, the best laid plans will go for a 6. So it is on-the-spot thinking, crisis management, instantaneous responses in order to preserve his command and preserve his mission, accomplish his mission and preserve the territory is very important to him. So we should not consider that he is not able to deal with the situations. He is able to deal a tremendous amount of situations, varied and multifaried and different, absolutely life and death situation. He has been trained. Whether he likes it or not, he's trained. He undergoes those experiences in his life. So there is a very important thing to deal with, how to handle a veteran. Even the corporates, they need that diversity of leadership to handle different section of the people. the rich, the poor, the knowledgeable, the intelligent, the unintelligent, the veterans, the non-veterans, the villages, rural areas. So that type of leadership skill has to be imbibed. Handle him with respect, as I said, give him respect and take it back in abundance. Do not means browbeat or something. That is one thing which you need to do. Then, and also, I also request the corporates, do not fully depend upon, he has got this additional certificate or this additional certificate. Look at the basic skills in that soldier. Look at his intensity of work. Look at his sincerity. Look at his physical fitness. And any soldier who can be taken can be trained the way you want, in a little way, and guided in the first month or so in order to see that there is no confusion between what he has to do and what is expected of him. So a clear-cut instructions has to flow to him that this is your responsibility, this is your additional responsibility place, this is your responsibility. Once you have laid out your mind very clear to him, clarity of mind and instructions to a soldier is very important. Thereafter, within your operative guidance, he will be using his flexibility and initiative in order to accomplish the mission and do well to your organization. I think I'll end here. Thank you.
Thank you, General Kamath. That was wonderfully explained. Colonel Das from Cisco will now explain to us the various programs and the trainings they have in line for our veteran community. Over to you, Colonel KPM Das.
Thank you, Mrs. Bhandarkar. I will take off from where General Kamath left. I agree with him that the credo now in most of the good corporates is hire for attitude and train for skills, right? So there is a major weightage given for attitude on ability to learn, curiosity, very, very important, ambition, hunger to learn, hunger for knowledge, and then you train them for specific skills, because they will get skilled into the role that they're going to play in the corporate, right? So I agree with him. So one of the good things that has happened over the past about 5 to 10 years, 15 years, is that the training model itself has changed significantly. Earlier, the model expected instructor-led training. The onus of training was on the organization, as it is in the Army, Navy, Air Force, it was. Now it has moved, the onus of training is now moved to the individual. It is for the individual to seek out learning material, which is in plenty. It's on the internet, especially for technology companies like Cisco. It's all available out there. You need to pick them up, do them in a certain sequence, and that is how you learn. You learn through audio visuals. The second is, we have something called a network academy, Cisco Network Academy, which is whose courses can be taken by anybody at large, anyone who desires to be in the networking space. So there are certain subjects, certain skills they can learn. They are very nice videos. There's a lot of practicals, almost like doing it in a lab. And after all that, you have a certification, you pass the exam. So that is the model that we are recommending. And we are going to offer this to anyone who's interested. And we have this veteran talent incubation program where we are going to encourage people to come on board, get trained, and be ready for a job. At the end of the day, when you think you're ready, then you have a process which is standard across the corporates in the industry. You send in your resume, it gets shortlisted, and then you have interviews, right? So this notion of keeping aside vacancies for veterans is normally not there in the private sector, right? However, as General Kamath said, inclusion and diversity is now a big priority for corporates. There is a necessity to have a diverse workforce, and to that extent, veterans are welcome in the workforce. People look forward to veterans joining the workforce because they bring diversity. And a diverse team is always stronger than a team which is very, monochromatic, right? So there is a certain degree of interface that we are setting up. That interface between Cisco and both serving and veterans to absorb and assimilate the training is something that we should be launching very soon.
So, Colonel Das, I'm aware that you have a separate cell called the Veterans ERO. Can you throw some light on that program as well?
Sure. Thank you, Mrs. Bhandarkar. VETS ERO is, it stands for Veterans and Troop Enablement Employee Resource Organization. So it is a voluntary community within Cisco whose members are veterans, their spouses and families, if there are any, and the larger Cisco community who are very passionate about the military, supporting the military cause, and who have a deep belief that partnering them will be good for Cisco, it will bring more diversity to Cisco and make Cisco that much stronger.
Yes, that's wonderful. And Metamorphs would surely like to collaborate with this group, and we would like to take it forward as a program through Cisco. I thank Cisco for partnering with us, and looking forward to wonderful sessions on training and the enrichment and the exchange program with Cisco. Thank you, Colonel Das, for facilitating such wonderful sessions. So I would like to share this good news with the viewers and the veteran community that Metamorphs will be partnering with Cisco for all these training and other sessions. So do watch the video for other details, and also click on the link given below if you want to know more about these programs. I wish to thank General Kamath and Colonel KPM Das for their valuable time and taking us through the various programs, the challenges which the veterans face, and how the gap can be filled, and how well trained a veteran is, and how and what Cisco is looking for in their team is also well explained by Colonel Das. I wish our viewers the very best, and also request you to like and share and comment on the video. If you like it, please do share it with your friends and family. Jai Hind and Jai Bharat.